There's not one piece of territory or one thing of a monetary nature that we want out of this war. We want peace and prosperity for the world as a whole.
It was 1945. Harry Truman was bound to be in Europe with the meeting of the Grand Alliance. But on his way there, he had one other thinking, the Cold War that's about to begin.
Against each other for influence all over the world. Try to get all the country to follow them and stay with their side, whatever. The U.S. don't want other country to fall into the communist bloc, and the Soviet don't want other country to fall into the American, the Democrat, the free bloc.
Victory over Germany has proven peace throughout Europe, but it was the partners themselves that caused a rift towards each other. In the Potsdam Conference, President Harry Truman and Prime Minister Winston Churchill were two on the divided side. President Truman told Stalin to withdraw his troops in East Germany, but Stalin refused. He said that East Germany was a buffer zone for them. After World War II, Germany was separated in four occupational zones: the U.S., Great Britain, Soviet Union, and France. And Berlin, which lay deep in the Soviet zone in Germany. Berlin was one of the great renowned struggle in the Cold War and throughout Europe. The Soviet foreign prime minister said that. He said that what happened to Berlin happens to Germany. What happens to Germany happens to Europe. In East Germany, everything was very poor to support the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, in West Germany, occupied by the U.S., it lived a very peaceful and prosperous life under the capitalist ideological idea. On June 24, 1948, Stalin ordered all things to be blocked off to the city of West Berlin, thus calling it the Berlin Blockade. Road, railways, transportation were all cut off, even with electricity. Stalin was determined to force the Western Ally out of Berlin and starve its people. There was no debate. President Harry Truman said, "We are going to stay, period." In days, the United States and Great Britain flew in what is to be now called the Berlin Airlift, supplying food for the German starving people. And so in 1949, the Soviet relented. They lifted the Berlin blockade, and a criminally divided Germany became a reality. And in 1949, the United States and Canada, and also with other 10 European countries, formed the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. But the Soviets rebounded back, forming the Warsaw Pact. In April 1961, the Soviets get to space first. This marked the space race in the 20th century.
But when the rocket ship went up that time and it blowed up with all the people on it. That was really scary, saying why they want to keep on sending people after that accident and still send somebody back up there. I never could understand.
In 1969, the U.S. were the first to land on the moon, on which the space race shows the technological advance of both sides. As the Cold War went on, the Berlin Wall was in place, separating West and East Germany as two separate nations.
The Berlin Wall is what divides Germany into two parts, East and West Germany.
Ever since the atomic bomb was created, both sides started to build up many of them, causing a nuclear battle between two superpowers.
If they was do something wrong, then we would
As the new
retaliate
leader
against
of Cuba, Fidel Castro was established as a communist nation, thus giving Russia a tactical move towards the U.S. with their nuclear weapons. To stop it, the U.S. conceived a secret mission called the Bay of the Pigs, on which they tried to overthrow the Cuban government. And with much pressure on both sides, they agreed on the SALT agreement, on which lowered the atomic bombs that both sides could get.
was scared, we were scared, and they wanted to shoot the missiles, and we wanted to shoot the missiles. Looked like it was all respect during that time.
In 1955, the war broke out in Vietnam. The North backed with the communists and the South backed with the capitalist U.S. This was one of the victims of the proxy war between both superpowers.
They have to invest a lot of money in their defense system, and they have to spend a lot of money to help their allies in the Cold Wars, to influence them politically, so their allies don't leave.
But all was a failure. North captured the South capital city, Saigon, as it played a huge embarrassment towards the U.S. And in 1983, both sides was on the threat of an edge of a real nuclear war, called DEFCON 1, but the U.S. called it off. In 1984, the Summer Olympics was held in the United States of America, but the USSR boycotted the Summer Olympics that year. The Soviet economy was slowly decreasing, as the war in Afghanistan did not even help with it. As Gorbachev was placed, he made many tweaks to reform the Soviet Union. And in 1991, President George W. Bush and Gorbachev signed the START I treaty, on which it actively reduced the amount of nuclear weapons produced. Tension was rising in European nations to gain independence from the Soviet Union. Due to Gorbachev's relaxed foreign policies, he let them go without any harmful reinforcement. The Berlin Wall was broken in November 1989.
People were literally breaking it down. Yeah, with the machine and then, construction
On
equipment.
December 1989, George Bush declared the Cold War was over. And so the USSR even banned the Soviet Union from coming back. All that was left was one major superpower, the US.